So we can basically, with Qigong, we can consciously kind of change the expression of our life by being aware of consciousness.
My name is Torsten Lueddecke, and this is the Wisdom Qigong Uncovered podcast. Welcome everyone for this episode of the Wisdom Qigong Uncovered podcast. I've got Naomi Hales with me. And Naomi, I've been waiting for you for a long time because I tried to get you on the show for such a long time, and you're always busy creating some amazing stuff in your life and in the lives of other people. So I'm very grateful that you took the time today to talk to us. Naomi, you're living in the UK currently, but one can tell you've got an international upbringing and background, and you've been a Zhineng Qigong teacher for a long time, and also Hunyuan Qi therapist. And we would like to talk a little bit more about your ideas and how you see Zhineng Qigong can support people in their lives. And I think one thing you're particularly passionate about is how this all comes together with epigenetics and how we can kind of consciously shape our life and create results that we want. So maybe you can explore a little bit about what that means for you, and that we can dive right into creating value here for our audience.
Absolutely. A joy to be here with you, Torsten. Thank you for having me. And yes, my passion with Zhineng Qigong is how so meta, like it's being conscious of consciousness, and in that process we can really enter a beautiful expanded consciousness state that brings happiness, peace, joy into our lives, supports wonderful health, and just really transform our lives for the better, and thereby transform the lives of everyone for the better.
So how would Zhineng Qigong support us? What is the mechanisms behind this? How does this all work?
So decades ago, Herbert Benson, I think at Yale, he did studies and he wrote books called Relaxation, Response and Beyond, where they took a lot of, I think, yoga and Qigong practitioners and were kind of measuring before the practice and after the practice. And they discovered these practitioners, through their practice, their expression of the genes shifted. So it was like the switches, if you like, of epigenetics, that layer of what do we express of our DNA. And it all goes to the positive, basically. And that was ages ago. And since then, the field of epigenetics has grown so much. And this understanding that we have now, that according to what excites our brain, it can add a kind of molecular overlay to boost expression, boost our genetic expression. And that is a huge part of what forms our long-term memory. So according to what we pay attention to, that changes our perception of the world, what we retain, what information we strengthen, what information we might not necessarily be connecting to. So we can basically, with Qigong, we can consciously change the expression of our life by being aware of consciousness.
Imagine a tool where you will learn the basics of Zhineng Qigong in 101 lessons.
Hello everyone.
Hoy, realmente tu práctica es muy excelente.
And discover 4,000 years of ancient Chinese wisdom. Available in English.
Before we talk about Zhineng Qigong specifically,
Spanish.
La palabra Qigong se compone de dos partes.
German.
Qigong ist also nicht nur eine Reihe von Übungen.
And Dutch.
Historisch gezien bestaan Qigong-praktijken in vele omgevingen.
You can use it as a simple web page or like an app on your phone on the go, where you connect and communicate with teachers of your choice. And find workshops worldwide. Welcome to myqigong.com, brought to you by the Zhineng Qigong Students Hub, for free.
Just to bring our audience up to speed, for those of us who are not so familiar with epigenetics, I put it in very simple words, but epigenetic basically means we all have many genes, different genes, but the question is which of them are expressed. So basically not all of them are on, some of them are off, some of them are on. And epigenetics says is that we can influence which of the genes are actually switched on, and thus, create our health, our well-being, our life, and which of those are switched off. So it's not something that we are helpless. We just have our genes. That's the way it is. It's something we can actually influence and change. So this, in essence, is the idea, right? And now it's about how does that tie into Qigong, and how can we make sure we switch on those genes that we actually want and that are positive for us and for our health and our well-being.
Exactly. So it's been shown that the brain, there's neuroplasticity. So we can really change, perhaps because of trauma or difficult challenges in life. We might have had a lot of anxiety or stress. We might often go into fight or flight and feel different challenging emotions, also like affecting our hormones, affecting our health. So there's a holistic effect to what we're expressing. And with Qigong, we're by observing our consciousness and becoming aware of what we're doing with our consciousness, you can say. We can gradually, over time, with practice, building up a library of Qigong experiences, if you like, just bring it into a state that's very peaceful, very harmonious. Gradually, our hormonal balance in our body becomes very favorable. And you feel that in your emotional life, you feel that in your day-to-day life with your family, colleagues, anyone in your life, because everything becomes, when you feel well, when you feel full of love, then that benefit spreads out beyond you. So yeah, for me, this is the way of like the ancient sages. We change the world by changing our internal landscape. And that's what Qigong does. Yeah.
So if I understand that correctly, it is not so much about being specific here and saying, okay, now let me switch on this gene and let me switch off that gene. It is more the overall way of being that you achieve by practicing Zhineng Qigong, that will create an environment that encourages certain genes that are positive for us to be on, and restrict others that would have a negative impact. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. It's been shown, I think it's Amir Levin writes about secure attachment theories and this thing of being hyper-connected when our presence is positively affirmed by other human beings. For our brain, that's immensely nourishing, supportive, expressive, and that's naturally in the Qigong practice, because we come to experience how our consciousness is all connected together. You profoundly want the best for other people as well as yourself. So if you do come into Zhineng Qigong circles, you find the Zhineng Qigong community always from the bottom of their hearts wanting the best for each other. It's a very favorable environment for our being, for the best genetic expression. So these things, you see how they reflect each other. Yeah.
And I understand. So it is probably both then, or actually three things. It is the exercises you do, it is the mindset you have, but it's also the community that you're pointing out here that creates this supportive environment to kind of have us in a relaxed state. But I suppose that if you are in this relaxed and peaceful and loving state, that it automatically kind of allows the genes that are happy and can be relaxed and can create just a wonderful world to be switched on, because there is no need for fear, there is no need for anxiety, there's no need for horror or anything like that, where the body feels that we need to protect or live in scarcity or anything like this. Is that fundamentally what's happening through all this work?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say beyond that, it becomes a more and more conscious process. So by having a consistent practice, you are able to be more and more aware of your internal world, including the feelings, the different hormones that are created. And so just already it's a journey, but you can definitely feel more empowered and more centered by developing a Zhineng Qigong practice. Yeah.
And the awareness is important because I can't just practice Qigong without the awareness, have a wonderful community around me and live a happy life?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So the awareness, it's that thing that I already touched upon, that if you can do Qigong, and maybe it feels like one of my students said, in the beginning just felt like waving arms around, and already felt quite good. But then how over time he realized there were such depths. And it is when gradually, if you're kind of watching and observing, you experience it's hard to talk about in words, but basically just different states, internal states that are absolutely feel very concrete, distinct. And then in that moment, if you're paying attention, you strengthen that information. Like your neurons excited, the molecules laying bookmarks, and basically if you're interested and you're curious and you're paying attention, then your awareness will naturally kind of grow. You'll be open and not attaching to the experiences, because that's obviously a danger. You could be like, I had an amazing Qigong state. You try and hold on to it and repeat it, which is kind of self-defeating. You want to sort of be open and curious, but gradually, if you're paying attention, when those things come, you'll be alive, alert to them. And so it's like it grows. What Qigong always say, where the mind goes, the Qi follows. And it's really true. Where we place our attention, that's what can expand in our life. So you don't have to. You can just practice Qigong at a very sort of light physical level, and you'll still get an amazing, amazing benefit, enjoy the company. And that's fantastic. Every person following the journey that they want to follow, but it's just exciting that there's also this possibility for something even deeper and more profound. Yeah.
What I think I'm taking here from my life is that if I'm aware and I discover certain things, I can focus more on it. I can send the Qi there and can have it grow more than if I would just leave it up to coincidence where the Qi goes. So I can direct it more and thus create more of what I want in my life, right?
Exactly. This feeling of agency and being empowered. It's shown, like study after study after study, when we discover that we have choice in our life, even if it's at a like subtle level of, how we feel, what we're choosing, then naturally that leads to life being more meaningful, more happy. And Zhineng Qigong really creates that opportunity. Some more people who practiced Qigong with me the longest from England, they say they found Zhineng Qigong as a beautiful map that's given. And then of course, according to the landscape of your unique landscape of your life, you'll use the map differently, but you'll find through your experiences when practicing Qigong that it's really useful. things get clearer and clearer, and then life feels easier and more harmonious. It's not to say, of course, life throws up huge challenges, but I know that everyone who practices Qigong with me really says, it helps them, in the hard times and the easy times. Qigong is such a support.
Absolutely. And I like the idea there of the empowerment when you talk about agency, because there's nothing more fulfilling that if you feel I've got a say in things. So I'm not just a victim to coincidences or to what life brings up. Yes, life will bring up stuff, but the way I deal with it is my choice. And I've got tools that I can use, and I can take responsibility. Now, just want to make this clear, because sometimes this comes up from the audience. This is not about blaming someone, like, oh my God, you've got a shitty life or something. Look at you, it's your fault. No, but it's, you might have a shitty life, but still you have, the possibility to respond to it and to do something about it. And this is the agency you were talking about. And obviously, the more you are grounded in that state of awareness and consciously allowing the positive developments, the less problematic life will probably show up for you. That's what you're sharing when you talk about the students that have been working with you for a long time, because they they got the idea of, okay, this is life. How am I going to navigate it? And I love the map that you're just giving as an example. And I also want to point out, because I think this is important in this context, that Qigong is not something someone else does to you. It is really your toolkit, because often we get requests here like, okay, please, can you help me? I need to get healed. No, it's not a passive thing. It's an active thing where obviously you can support as a teacher or as a community, but the agency is still with every single student, right?
I mean, the last thing that you said is very important and central, because Zhineng Qigong helps us to develop the initiative ability of our consciousness. So from the get-go, our own inner teacher, master needs to awaken. We find, what is it that we want? And gradually we're supported in that with our own ability and wisdom that's nourished. I mean, obviously, I think everyone knows Dr. Pang calls it wisdom and ability Qigong, Zhineng Qigong, because that's what it helps to unfold. So it's beautifully empowering. And it's not a passive process. At the same time, it's very hopeful. No matter where we are at, knowing that we can do something that will help change our situation. Maybe it's not an overnight fix. Most often it isn't an overnight fix, but just knowing there is something. In cases, often people will only come across Zhineng Qigong because they have had some big life challenge, something where other things haven't helped. So just knowing from any situation we can get a great benefit. It's not a stick to beat ourselves down with. It's definitely something to have hope and happiness.
So what does your daily routine look like? Do you have specific exercises you focus on because you think they support you on your path? And, having said that, other people might find a different routine helpful, useful for them. When I talk to you, you have this genuine, happy smile. So you must be doing something right here.
Hola. Hola. Yeah. So I always love to emphasize when people ask, which practice to do, that it's really good to tune in to what feels resonant for you, that you can happily do on a daily basis. And it's that doing it every day that I feel lays those new rails down. At the same time, it's a balance because we don't want to get fixated and obsessed on the methods. So if we can cultivate, I think two things. One is like cultivating this feeling of happiness and freedom from the get-go. If we do any kind of Zhineng Qigong practice, just being happy and reveling in the freedom that we've chosen it, because often Teacher Wei says, people do Zhineng Qigong to be free and happy, but like you can forget and get very serious and focused and narrow on a method. And then it can be a stick we beat ourselves with. So I think it's really important to consciously have that feeling of joy. And then the other thing at the same time, from the bottom of my heart, can really say, Dr. Pang's teachings and methods, they really work. And so I love it when the Master Liu, my foremost Qigong master that I've teacher trained with, he really emphasizes, do the practice. And that's what it can change over time. Some methods I'll be practicing for a certain amount of time, and then, maybe I'll focus on another area, but some things are continuous for me. So level 1, 2, 3 every day, and some other methods, meditation, squats, those are my foundations. Go with the flow a little bit. What is exciting our neurons today, causing new experiences to happen.
I can read the mind of my audience, by the way. And I know that when you said level 1, 2, and 3, everybody was thinking, oh my God, how much time does that take? So how much time do you spend daily for your Qigong practice?
Well, it's a bit different because, Zhineng Qigong is my life that I've chosen. I share it. And for me, this is my passion and my area of research. What is consciousness? How do we support the best consciousness state in everyone, in ourselves? So don't ask me for time.
Okay, good.
But the important thing to know is you can do many squats inside of 10 minutes. 10 minutes to make a profound change, upward shift in your life and health. So it's not really about time. And this thing that I emphasize about feeling happy and free, that's why it's so important that you choose for yourself. What's the first thing that you're going to weave into your life?
And I can tell that there's another dimension to it. I mean, really, the practice is important. And we encourage everyone to do daily practice. And I might just add that, the Students Hub has just launched a little page called My Qigong, which helps people to support their daily practice. So anyone who's interested, just look at the caption to go there. It's a great tool to make sure you are practicing and to get support from the community. But the other thing is, because we're now in a podcast, you're not doing an exercise, but I can tell that you are in the Qigong state. So even if I'm an accountant or an ITer or something and I do my daily life, I can do these activities, or like you just doing a podcast with me here, and being in the Qigong state. Because that is the key. If you're only happy 10 minutes while you're doing the wall squats and the rest of the day you're miserable, you haven't achieved much. So it's both things. Yes, do your practice, and we understand that most of us have a life, but that life can be put into the context of Qigong and into the Qigong field, Qi field, and benefit from it all day long. And that brings us back to the awareness. If that needs awareness, if I'm running through life and just looking at traffic, red light, green light, and so on, and there's no awareness for Qi, for my Qi state, then it's difficult. But if I cultivate this constant awareness, and at every moment I'm aware, I have a choice of whether I'm happy, whether I'm free, how to proceed the day, then that's a Qigong state. And then I'll practice 24 hours a day as well without doing the squats, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, we don't fixate on the methods. We can just even have the information that the Hunyan Qi of the universe, this pure, subtle layer of Qi, we give the information that it can be constantly nourishing us, supporting us 24 hours a day, even when we're not being aware of it. But if we have that information, then already our life will change. It's not about being enslaved, really not. But just discovering things and having great experiences, and then your journey will unfold according to whatever it is that you choose, you want.
What else would you like to share? And Naomi, is there anything that you feel like you would like the audience to know from the experience with your students or from your own life experience here?
I think we are living in challenging times. I think there's a lot of pressure on people with the rise of AI, young people being uncertain of what kind of world is going to unfold. I think just to know there's a way to cultivate our being. It's ancient. Qigong is thousands and thousands of years. It's really been road tested, bring us into a harmonious state. We are part of nature. Nature's part of us. And I feel in modern life, it's very easy to get disconnected from that and not feel so grounded. But with the Zhineng Qigong practice, you will over time just feel absolutely held, nourished by nature, one with nature, like really reconnect into our deep being. Feel your true self just illuminating your inward landscape, also transforming your outward. If someone can receive this information, I know that I was in a difficult place in my early life. My life really profoundly changed. That, even from suffering, whether it's a great bereavement or something, that a state of harmony is possible. That's the message I would like to emphasize and share.
And while you're saying this, I could immediately feel an impact on me, because what happens when you talk about these things and when I follow your advice, it feels a little bit like I'm rising above all of that, and I'm moving into something that can look down on what's happening on planet Earth currently and understand that like none of this is really matters. It's just the way life unfolds here, and I don't have to worry too much about day-to-day stuff, because there's something of which I'm part of, which is nature, and which will just evolve. And even my life is not a separate thing. It's just a movement of nature that will constantly transform all of the universe here together, and that gives me a certain perspective on all these things that are bombarding us if we are not having this perspective, which obviously makes us feel overwhelmed, and how are we going to cope with all of that? But rising above that and connecting to what you've just described is a wonderful way to just get into this calm state, which we all are longing for.
Yeah. It's this kind of Zen-like paradox that at the same time that you feel very connected with everyone and everything in the best of ways, in a very positive way, that just like you say, this feeling of going beyond, feeling very free, very peaceful. Yeah.
Naomi, you are teaching in England, but also online, right?
Yeah. That's right. 5 times a week online. People are really welcome. If you want to know more, my website is qigong.love, and you can message me directly there. Also, in-person things in Berlin, elsewhere. In England, the Hunyuan Qi therapy team, we're doing a holistic health retreat in October, and a level 2 workshop with Master Liu in July. Yeah.
Perfect. And are those online already on your website?
They are on Yarrow Retreat's website, and I will make a link on my website. Yeah.
Perfect. And obviously we'll put your website in the caption so anybody can get in touch with you, Naomi. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been a great pleasure, and it was definitely worth the wait for me. So thank you so much for joining. You can also work in person with Naomi, or visit some of her workshops, or do the online trainings, and you will also meet Naomi quite often in the life changes. And thank you very much for being such a big contribution to the community and to the overall world here. Thank you, Naomi.
Love and peace to all. Yeah. Thank you, Torsten.
We trust you enjoyed this conversation, and we invite you to subscribe to our podcast so we can stay in touch and notify you of future episodes. We will end today's episode with the 8 verses meditation performed by Zhineng Qigong teacher Katrin Hendricks. Enjoy. To get your free ebook on the 8 verses meditation, please check the show notes below.